What is up, YouTube? It's your host, back again for yet another Survivor Durant archive series. We got a great one for you today. Our 6th game, Assassin's Greed, Season 6, Part 1. And I do really want to stress that Part 1. Even though our 6th and 7th game was played 6 weeks from each other, I want to act as though Assassin's Greed, this game that we're archiving right now, was played on a Saturday, and then the second game was played on a Sunday, back to back. The reason why it wasn't is, well, it takes a while to get everything together for a Survivor game. These two games were made together, and ideally was to complement each other. We had so many players that wanted to come back and play again, or that we had in our minds that would play for a first time. And we sat down and divided them into 2 different casts. The first 14 players that we selected would play Assassin's Greed, and they were our all-star rosters, the people that we thought would play the best. Because Assassin's Greed has a very active twist, and it allows the players to determine how it will be used. While the second game, Season 6 Part 2, had a twist that the players had no say in the matter. So we set aside strictly 12 returning players to get another chance at claiming the title of Sole Survivor and seeing how they interact with this twist that they have no say in. Immediately after Season 5 Mystery Island ended, I knew what I was going to do for the next 3 Survivor games. And focusing on this one, Assassin's Greed, I wanted a twist where players were tempted to betray their closest allies. Would you backstab if the perk was high enough? Though I conceptualized the main twist for the season, this would have not been successful if it weren't for a group effort. Mason, Nate, Briar, Autumn, and even Dustin all had a hand in this season's success. My favorite part was throwing out ideas and everyone bouncing off of it, saying what we could change or do differently, and no toes would be stepped on, no feelings would be hurt. We would change what needed to be done or admit it completely and just move on. Everyone solely wanted this Survivor game to be successful and egos were left behind. This was a twist I really believed in, and I can't wait to explain it to you. But coming off the heels of an all-guys dominant alliance in Season 5, this twist was guaranteed to be something really fresh. Before the game started, for months, we advertised that I, the host, would actually be playing, and that Dustin would take over as host of the game, and Mason his co-host. Most people believed it. The purpose behind this was to get players ready to play against a really good player. And not to say that I'm a good player, but playing against the host is sort of a big deal, right? He should know the ins and outs of the game. The whole purpose was for the players going into Assassin's Creed to start with a game-winning strategy. And hopefully, out of that, we can have the most competitive season yet. This game would take place March of 2021 in Mirkwood. We haven't been there since Season 3, but we're back. And inside this expansive forest were fire tokens all over the place, and players would use their fire tokens to buy items off of the advantage menu. On the advantage menu, players could buy a clue to the hidden immunity idol. They could loot the body of the person who got voted out. Doing so would give you all of the fire tokens, advantages, and idols on that voted out person, and it goes to you. And finally, you could purchase a hit marker. If you purchase a hit marker, you choose an opponent to use it on, and you're basically putting a target on their back, because at Tribal Council, each player that votes against that person who has the hit marker on them will receive some sort of perk, either fire tokens or an idol clue or both. Every round before Tribal Council is conducted, the players will be given a random name of who they can choose to target and vote out. Simply voting for that person at Tribal Council will result in some sort of reward. So what would you do? Would you go against the majority alliance and vote someone randomly just so you can sort of benefit from it? This twist was sure to expose everyone's self-interest, hence the name Assassin's Greed. We dreamed and planned for 14 contestants to come out and play the game. And the day of the game, we had a couple people drop out. and somehow we were able to replace them in seconds' notice. And we were able to achieve our vision and have 14 starting contestants. Not only that, but this game was fans versus favorites. A full tribe of 7 returning favorites versus 7 newbies. First, let's introduce all the returning contestants. They're known as the Copperhead tribe. We have the returning Ronnie from Mystery Island, as well as Peyton from Mystery Island, and Abby from Mystery Island. We also have Melissa from Season 5 as well. Now, if you remember anything from Season 5, you should know that Ronnie and Peyton have a really good rapport, and Melissa was against them the whole time. How will that play out? Returning from Season 3, we have the Comp Beast, Ryan, and come to find out, her and Ronnie are actually good friends. Looks like Ronnie's pretty set up on this tribe. Also returning from Season 3 is Dingler. How will he play in the game without Lena? And returning to the game for a 3rd time, Season 1 and 2 veteran, you know him as the Man of Chaos, JJ is back. Now let's meet the brand new contestants from the Silverback tribe. First, we have a new female contestant named Allie, and she actually knows Ronnie and is best friends with Ryan on the other side. Next, we have Thomas Olive, Sam, and last-minute replacement, Ethan. And they all kind of know each other, and that's through Abby on the other side. Next, we have workout buddies, Tyler and Gabe. And the final member of this tribe is a guy named Robbie, who I begged to play. He really helped me hit that number of 7 and 7, and he knows JJ and Dingler from the other side, and he's part of that older generation crowd of friends. The first immunity challenge began right away, and it was a gauntlet with 6 different stations involving running, balancing, eating, a puzzle, throwing, and a memory challenge. The winners of the first immunity challenge was the Silverback tribe, sending the pros to the very first tribal council. The Silverbacks headed back to their camp with victory in mind, and we told the Copperheads to stick around. We gave each member a randomized name. If they voted for that name at the upcoming tribal council, they would receive 2 fire tokens. Back at the Copperhead camp, everyone was getting along and going aside to talk strategy. Well, everyone aside from Dingler and JJ. Dingler decided to hang out in his hammock, and JJ was just being super quiet, not talking to anyone about anything. So at tribal council, Dingler decided to vote for his target name, which was Abby, and received 2 fire tokens for doing so. And JJ did the same thing by voting for Dingler, receiving 2 fire tokens, while everyone else voted out JJ because he was too quiet. The next immunity challenge was a classic, Netflix and chill. But before the challenge began, we explained that there would be an opportunity for everyone to receive an individual advantage. But first, the Silverbacks had to sit someone out, and this would also prevent them from receiving an advantage. Robbie volunteered and sat out of the challenge. All players participating in this challenge were given a white and black rock before the challenge began. You would reveal one of the two. If you revealed the white rock, it meant that you would want your team to receive an advantage in this challenge. However, if you revealed the black rock, it meant that you wanted the advantage for yourself. There needed to be at least 3 white rocks shown for a tribe to receive an advantage. When everyone opened their hand, everyone chose the same thing, a white rock. So both tribes, the Copperheads and the Silverbacks, both received an advantage in this challenge. At the end of the Netflix and chill story, it was the Silverbacks once again prevailing, sending the Copperheads to tribal council once more. And at the Copperhead camp, it was basically the same thing again. Ryan, Ronnie, and Peyton together talking about what would happen. Abby and Melissa right there just listening. Abby wanting to make a move against Ronnie or Peyton, but not saying anything, knowing that she needed to bring in someone else like Dingler, and Dingler's just sitting there chilling in a hammock. At tribal council, when players came up to vote, then we would reveal who their target name was, and players had to decide on the spot if they wanted to vote for that person or go with whatever the plan was. If players decided against voting for that person, we would then tempt them even further by offering not just 2 fire tokens, but also a clue to the hidden immunity idol. And no one went for the temptation. And after the votes were read, Dingler went home unanimously. For the third round, we started it off with a tribe swap, a random draw, just to shuffle things up. No longer fans versus favorites. Now, on the new Silverback tribe, we have Robbie, Abby, Ronnie, Peyton, Sam, and Tyler. And this will be interesting because, of course, Peyton and Ronnie have really good rapport with each other, but so does Abby and Sam. And Ronnie and Peyton believe that Abby is with them, so it'll be interesting to see how things pan out. While on the new Copperhead tribe, we have Gabe, Allie, Ryan, Melissa, Thomas, and Ethan. Now this will be interesting because Thomas and Ethan are good friends outside of the game, but so are Ryan and Allie. And throughout the game, Gabe and Allie have already been talking about working together, but so has Gabe and Tyler. And with Gabe in the middle, Allie and Tyler are trying to fight for Gabe's loyalty. For the third immunity challenge, it was a sponge relay race, similar to the one in Mystery Island. Players would be passed a sponge. When they have the sponge, they can't move their legs, and they'll make a chain, continuing to pass the sponge from a bucket to dip it in to fill it with water, all the way back to a giant vase. The first tribe to have the vase overflowing with water will win immunity. However, unlike last year's challenge, around the vase were several different cups with everyone's name on it. At the end of the challenge, whichever player had the most water in their individual cup will receive an advantage. Players tried extra hard to make sure that their cups did not have any water in it. Players did not want to have a target on their back to receive a public advantage. At the end of the challenge, the winners were the Copperhead tribe, but this didn't prevent anyone from getting advantages. You see, a little driplet of water fell into Ryan's cup and into Peyton's cup, giving them both a secret advantage. What was their advantage? It was called the vote morph. Whenever a vote is revealed at Tribal Council, they can change that vote to say whoever they want it to say. Both tribes went back to their respective camps. First, at the new Copperhead camp, Thomas was busy collecting a lot of fire tokens, and he used some to purchase an idol clue, of which he found. Not only that, but Thomas managed to unlock a lockbox on the new Copperhead tribe. What was inside? Not a Pandora's box piece, but a new advantage called the Poison Dart advantage. How it works: whichever player you decide to use the Poison Dart advantage on cannot play any idols or advantages for themselves. While Thomas was hard at work finding all these tokens, advantages, and idols, he made sure to tell all of his friends about everything that he had. Historically, that's never a good thing. The Copperhead tribe also got to select who the Silverbacks were to target for this round. So instead of the names being randomized, they were selected by their opposition. First, Robbie they chose to target Sam, Abby to target Robbie, Ronnie to target Tyler, Peyton to target Abby, Sam to target Ronnie, and Tyler to target Peyton. On the new Silverback tribe, everyone was freaking out and really worried about Robbie, because Robbie told everybody that he doesn't really care if he goes home, that he only came as a promise to Cheston. And that made everyone think that he had an idol on him. But while everyone was freaking out, this let Ronnie unlock the lockbox on their side, which also contained a Poison Dart advantage. Sam had just enough fire tokens to purchase an idol clue, of which he could not find, and before you knew it, it was time for Tribal Council. At Tribal Council, Robbie got the extra fire tokens by voting for his target, Sam, and so did Abby by voting for her target, Robbie. And everyone else also voted for Robbie. Though they didn't receive the fire tokens, it sent Robbie home, making 11 remain in the game. The next immunity challenge was a last player standing balancing challenge, where players would hold a PVC pipe in their hand and a plate on top of it. They would then balance a ping pong ball on top of the plate. Whichever tribe had the last player standing in this challenge would win immunity and everyone would be safe. However, this challenge was also for an advantage. Whichever player that felt gutsy enough to go for an advantage could make it more difficult on themselves and play this game with only one leg. All the players who decided to play on one leg would be competing against each other for the advantage and made it more difficult for their tribe to win immunity. Additionally, the Copperhead tribe had to sit out an extra member, and they chose to sit out Ethan with no shot at getting the advantage. Now, seeing that these players have played it safe so far, and they have no interest in getting an advantage, as shown through the white and black rock thing, and also with the sponge relay, we really let the players know that this advantage was very powerful and it has never been seen before. And the players were incentivized even further. When this challenge began, we told everyone to close their eyes. And out of the players playing this challenge, only one decided to stand on a foot, and that was Gabe, instantly getting him this special advantage. And even though Gabe was standing on one foot, putting a little handicap on the Copperhead tribe, they still pulled out a victory, sending the Silverbacks to Tribal Council again. And what was the advantage that Gabe received for putting his neck out on the line? It was known as the super advantage, and when paired with an idol or any other advantage, it could be used at super speed, meaning you can use an idol or an advantage that is paired with the super after the votes have been read. It's just too bad Gabe doesn't have another advantage or an idol. But speaking of idols, Sam was able to buy a second clue for the hidden immunity idol on the Silverback side and was successful in the hunt, claiming a hidden immunity idol for himself. Now, the dynamics on the Silverback tribe, it would appear that Abby and Sam are working together because they literally work together, and that Peyton and Ronnie are working together because of their history of Season 5. And that's exactly what was going down. So this puts Tyler right in the middle, but he's more close with Sam because they started the game on the same tribe. And Peyton and Ronnie are really counting on Abby. The three of them have no quarrel with each other. They've also started on the same tribe, so no one really knows what's going on. So Ronnie and Peyton walk up to Abby and say, the three of us are voting Sam. That's the plan. And Abby says, yes, that's great. I love it. And then Abby is approached by Tyler and Sam, and they said the plan is to vote out Ronnie. And Abby's, again, yes, absolutely, I love it. But what does Abby really want to do? Well, she let everyone know real quick that Ronnie got second place last year. And she's too afraid to let anyone know that she really does want to vote Ronnie out because she's afraid that once again, rumor is going to spread and it's going to get out. And it's going to be revealed that Abby's actually against Ronnie. So even though Tyler was approaching Abby on the side about a vote of getting rid of Ronnie, Abby was too uncertain to reveal her cards just yet. So Tyler approaches Peyton and really gauges how willing Peyton would be to step away from Ronnie and work with someone else. And when Tyler pitched the vote of getting rid of Ronnie to Peyton, Peyton was not having it. He was really gung-ho about sticking with his best friends, the people that he knew, and he was never going to betray Ronnie. This mindset from Peyton is just a repeat of whatever the bros want. At Tribal Council, players would go up to vote and then would receive their assassin name of who they could vote for to receive fire tokens. Only Ronnie decided to go for it, placing his vote on Tyler. When the votes were revealed, we also had one vote for Sam, and 3 votes for Peyton, blindsiding him, sending him home with an advantage in his pocket. But because Ronnie and Peyton were working together, Ronnie knew that Peyton had the advantage. So Ronnie got his new fire tokens to some good use and decided to loot Peyton's body, gaining control of the vote morph advantage. In the final 10, we explored a new avenue. A merge! Well, kinda. A limited merge. The players were given a merged buff that they would wear with their regular buff, indicating that the players were merged, but also, at the same time, still divided onto 2 tribes, the Copperheads and the Silverbacks. For the immunity challenge, players were divided into 5 pairs. Those pairs being Gabe and Ronnie, Allie and Sam, Melissa and Abby, Thomas and Ethan, Ryan, and Tyler. The immunity challenge was a classic egg toss, where you would just simply toss the egg to your partner. If you caught it, you're in. If you didn't, you're out. Once you caught your egg, both you and your partner will both take a step backwards, and it would get further and further away. The last pair standing will win immunity. And this winning pair was Gabe and Ronnie. However, we never said that the winning pair would get to be a part of Tribal Council. Gabe and Ronnie had to return to their respective campsites. Gabe going back to the Copperhead camp, and Ronnie returning to the Silverback camp. This gave them free range to privately explore every avenue of their home front, while the remaining 8 players did not get to go to any camp, strategize, or talk in any way. We immediately set them down for Tribal Council and started voting. Players were given their target name whenever they went up to vote, and their target name was the player that they partnered with in the immunity challenge. Only one person went for this, and it was Sam, voting out Allie, getting himself 2 fire tokens. Although there was a second vote for Allie, the rest were for Sam, a massive blindside, sending him home with an idol in his pocket. And, hoping to find something good off of looting the body, Thomas had just enough fire tokens to do so, and boy did it ever pay off when Thomas received his second hidden immunity idol. With this, the merge portion has began, and the final 9 would start the jury process. But the game will not finish in Mirkwood, no. We moved to a different location to finish out the evening. The new location is the park right behind my house, so players will have the entire park area as well as all around my home. This way, people can see in the dark, there's no lights in Mirkwood, and it's a more controlled environment. Immediately following the merged feast, players gathered for the first individual immunity challenge, which was a Hex Nut Chopstick Stacking Challenge. Players were given 5 minutes to stack as many Hex Nuts as they could using a pair of chopsticks. The player that has the most Hex Nuts stacked at the end of 5 minutes will win immunity, and that player was Thomas. Thomas also found enough fire tokens at this new location to buy an idol clue, and he was digging at the park underneath the swing set where the idol was. However, he couldn't find it. Abby noticed that he was digging there, so she decided to give it a whirl for herself, and voila, she found the hidden immunity idol. Thomas seen it and spread it immediately that Abby had found the idol, and Abby went into panic mode. If you recall, Abby was voted out in Season 5 just because she had an idol, so this was deja vu. Thomas let Allie and Ryan know about Abby's newfound idol, and Allie and Ryan were working with their close friend Ronnie, so they only needed one more player to have the majority. So they pulled in Ethan, Gabe, and Tyler, knowing that with these numbers, they could pull off an Abby blindside. But the players didn't see another twist coming into Perpetuation. We allowed all players to be able to vote for themselves at the upcoming Tribal Council in return for 2 fire tokens. And yes, the immunity winner Thomas can vote for himself. No, this doesn't put Thomas in any danger if he were to vote for himself, but it does throw off plans if people are counting on his vote. While everyone's going back and forth about who Thomas is going to be voting for, Allie and Tyler take the opportunity to have a screaming match with each other, really putting the target on both of their backs. Now, all of a sudden, this duo of Melissa and Abby are in the middle, and Gabe, Tyler, and Ethan are trying to sway them one way, while Ronnie, Allie, and Ryan are trying to get them to sway another way. Ronnie did a great job building this case against Tyler, reminding everyone that he's a snake in the grass. There's been multiple opportunities where he's broken trust, including the Peyton blindside. So at Tribal Council, there was 3 votes against Tyler, and 6 votes against Ronnie, sending him home, making him the first member of the jury. And of course, Ronnie shared all the treasures that he had accumulated throughout the game to his friends Allie and Ryan, so naturally, Ryan looted the body. This gave Ryan a second Vote Morph advantage and a Poison Dart advantage. Even though Ryan has all these advantages, her and Allie are on the outs. Can they recover? The final 8 immunity challenge was the classic Superlative Challenge. Who do you trust? Who doesn't deserve to be here? Who's most likely to win the game? And Tyler and Allie once again took the opportunity to take a lot of shots at each other. And they were also on the receiving end of a lot of jokes and got a lot of really bad superlatives, like being the most loud, the most unliked, the most likely to betray you. But that didn't stop Tyler from winning the final 8 immunity, guaranteeing his spot in the final 7. Additionally, players were given the temptation to vote against the player that they said was the most trustworthy during the superlative game at Tribal Council. If you did so, you would receive 2 fire tokens. But that didn't matter because Thomas had a lot of fire tokens, enough to buy a hit marker, of which he placed on Ryan. Now, all players that vote against Ryan at Tribal Council will receive 2 fire tokens. Thomas really wanted Ryan out because he had an outstanding relationship built with Allie, so he wanted Allie all to himself. But Gabe, Ethan, Tyler, Abby, and Melissa approached Allie and Ryan about a new plan. One that did not involve their name. That's right, the only person not involved in the conversation, Thomas. He had too many idols on him, too many advantages. Something had to be done. But Gabe wasn't ready just yet to let go of Thomas. Gabe pulled Thomas aside and told him, I really need to know that I can trust you. If you were to give me one of your hidden immunity idols, it would be a sign of trust, and we can run this thing to the end. Thomas, having 2 idols, doesn't see this as much of a loss, just letting Gabe hold his second idol temporarily and gaining a close ally in the process. So Thomas obliges and gives Gabe an idol. At Tribal Council, Thomas believes that the plan is Ryan, so he votes for her, gaining 2 fire tokens. Abby and Ethan also vote for Ryan, knowing who it's going to be, throwing their vote just so they can get some fire tokens. And the remaining 5 votes all went to Thomas, blindsiding him out of the game with an idol and a poison dart advantage. Allie and Ryan had to betray the only other person in the game that they really considered an ally just to save their own skin. They said anyone but us, and it was Thomas. Now everyone knows that Thomas had a lot of advantages on him, and that's why they voted him out. So about everyone threw their name into the ring to loot the body. And after going to a rock draw, it was Melissa who was able to claim the idol and poison dart advantage for herself. In the final 7 immunity challenge, it was a tournament style challenge in which you had to knock the cup off of your opponent's tray. You would go around in a circle, kicking, hitting, whatever you had to do. Whichever person's cup hit the ground first was eliminated. One contestant was going to get a bye round, whoever paid the most fire tokens, and that was Allie. Additionally, if a player was to pay a fire token, they could pick their opponent for the round. In the end, it was Allie versus Gabe for immunity, and Allie pulled it out. Once more, Allie and Ryan were on the bottom, and they didn't have someone like Thomas to hide behind. But could they paint the target on someone else? Because there was another really strong duo in the game with a lot of advantages, Abby and Melissa. And it was public knowledge that both Abby and Melissa had an idol. So at Tribal Council, it would be up to Tyler, Gabe, and Ethan to decide which duo they want to go deeper into the game with. Once voting was completed, Ryan stood up and used her poison dart advantage on Melissa, preventing her from using any idols or advantages during this Tribal Council. However, Abby came to her rescue by using her idol on Melissa. The first 2 votes that were revealed were for Melissa, which did not count. And the next 4 votes that came out were all for Ryan. However, Ryan used her vote morph advantage both times to change 2 votes for Ryan to 2 votes for Abby. So now, it's 2 votes for Abby, 2 votes for Ryan, 1 vote left. And the final vote went to Ryan, sending her home, making her the 3rd member of the jury. The final 6 immunity challenge was an egg plank, where players had to hold an egg right above their chest without letting it roll away and without falling on the egg. And the player who outlasted everyone else was Gabe, getting a shot at the final 5. Players were then given a random target name that they could vote for at Tribal Council. If they did so, players would receive an advantage in the Final 5 Immunity Challenge. But no one went for it. Instead, we had one of the craziest rounds we've ever seen, where we had potentially 3 pairs in the game. Gabe and Tyler, Abby and Melissa, and now Allie and Ethan. Allie needed someone to go to after Ryan left the game, and she chose the lone wolf, the person who seemed the most trustworthy. But Gabe also let Allie know that he didn't want to see her gone, because he felt that he could beat her in the end. Kind of cocky. So Allie trusted Gabe, Allie trusted Ethan, she just didn't trust Tyler. However, they needed each other for this round, so they put aside their differences. And this 4, Gabe, Tyler, Ethan, and Allie, made a little plan. At Tribal Council, Melissa used her poison dart advantage on Allie, just so she couldn't use any tricks. And then Melissa decided to return the favor and use her hidden immunity idol for Abby. When the votes were revealed, there was 2 votes for Abby, which both got canceled, and then 2 votes for Melissa and 2 votes for Tyler. So we have a tie. However, Gabe didn't know if he could fully trust Allie enough to keep his closest ally in the revote. So, Gabe decided to use his super advantage on the idol that he got from Thomas, creating a super idol, which can be played after the votes have been revealed. He used it on Tyler, negating Tyler's 2 votes. Therefore, there's only 2 votes that can be counted, which were for Melissa, making her the 4th member of the jury. In the final 5, we now have a solid 4. Gabe, Tyler, Ethan, and Allie. Allie, who was on the bottom, somehow snuck her way in to a majority alliance. The only thing that could ruin this is if Abby were to win the Final 5 immunity. And she does. At this point, Allie has tried her best to cause some sort of wedge between Tyler and Gabe to get them to at least think about flipping on each other. Allie recognizes that Gabe is currently playing the best game. He hasn't made anyone upset. It's his decision where the vote is going to go. Everyone shares their information with him, so she really needs Gabe to go. But in order for Gabe to go, she thinks that Tyler first needs to go. Because Tyler has been consistently unreliable in the game and will tell a lie at any moment. Gabe is really caught in the crosshairs here, trying to decide who to go further in the game with. His friend outside of the game, Tyler, or his long-term ally, Allie. He knows that Allie's trying to break them up, and he also just played a super idol for Tyler, and he feels that Tyler will have to be undoubtedly loyal to him. Now, Ethan and Abby know each other outside of the game. They've been friends for years. So Abby has decided to put all of the eggs in his basket and ride this thing to the end with Ethan. However, until this point, Ethan has only really worked with Gabe and Tyler. Is he ready to make a drastic change? But after another dramatic and heated argument between Tyler and Allie, it was clear one of them had to go for the other person's sanity. And when the votes were revealed, there was 1 vote for Tyler, and the remaining 4 were for Allie. The Final 4 Immunity Challenge featured 4 different stations. The players had to visit each station to get a bag of puzzle pieces. Once they have all 4 bags of puzzle pieces, they'll open them, solve the puzzle, and that person will win immunity. And that person was Gabe, by seconds beating Abby. Now at this point in the game, it was extremely clear, not only to myself, but also to co-producers Nate and Mason, that the players were solely thinking about who they could take to the end and really win against. And they've been doing this since about the final 6. So this vote was a crucial and open one. Gabe winning immunity really solidified him making the decision of what was going to happen this round. And he wanted Ethan for sure to stay. But who else did he want to stay? Abby was banking on Ethan to vote with her to get Tyler out. But Gabe knew that Tyler and Ethan were inseparable, and that they would both be voting for Abby. So this was completely up to Gabe's discretion. He could vote for Tyler, forcing a tie, or just flat out vote Abby out. Abby was shocked to find out that Ethan did vote her out. Not only that, but so did Tyler, and so did Gabe. Now we have 6 members in the jury and 1 challenge left, and this one is a doozy. Players had to hold a cup of water above their head, connected to the roof so it doesn't fall down, with 1 finger for as long as possible. This came down to Tyler or Gabe winning, and both were really feeling it. But Gabe especially, because he gave it his all in that eggplant competition. And the winner of the final immunity contest was Tyler, solidifying himself a spot in the final 2. Tyler was in an impasse. He knew that he could possibly win the game with Ethan, but he would for sure lose the game with Gabe, the person that everyone just has a good rapport with. Maybe not Thomas after that idol scrutiny. So Tyler spoke with both Gabe and Ethan and came to a decision trusting his gut and made Gabe the final member of the jury. So here we are, the final 2, Tyler versus Ethan. And it would appear that it's about to be a landslide because the jury is furious with Tyler, telling all the unnecessary sloppy lies all throughout the game. And Ethan, he was cool with literally everyone. It would have been the case if Ethan didn't start his pitch to the jury by saying, "I don't deserve this win." Ethan was very quiet, said the bare minimum. It seemed like he really didn't know what to say. His pitch as to why he should win really centered around being in the right places at the right time, listening to all the conversations. People in power love to talk. And Tyler spoke until he was blue in the face. Really demonstrated the key moves that he made throughout the game, navigating to get him to the end. Perhaps the biggest topic of conversation from the jury was Tyler's lack of jury management. It seemed that he managed to make everyone mad in some sort of way. And the jury was really concerned because it seemed like Tyler didn't consider a jury a factor at all and was just playing to get into the final 2. When it came down to the votes, Ethan received winning votes from his good friends, Abby, who wanted to stay loyal, and Thomas. And by their words, not mine, Tyler received winning votes from everyone else because Ethan didn't give them a reason not to. So congratulations, Tyler. You are the rightful winner of Assassin's Creed. I do want to thank the jury for being so open-minded, not only to consider voting for someone that you don't like, but actually doing it. You heard Tyler's case, you heard Ethan's case. Going into it, you really thought that you was going to vote for Ethan, but after hearing them both out, you crowned a winner worthy of representing your season. Thank you so much for listening, and look forward to Season 6, Part 2.